and welcome to the Dynasty Gambit. This is episode 13, I believe. At least that's what we're listing officially. So, yeah. So Doc had to bring the number. No Hamid today. Wishing you the best, Hamid, if you are listening, watching. If not, we are still wishing you the best. Just you won't hear that. So we'll send you some other messages later. But yes, for who's here now. So myself, Kyle Senra. And joining me, as always, is co-host Dr. James Ferretti, the fantasy sports doc. So how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Kyle. Glad to be here, Hamid. Hope you're on the road to recovery. And we got lucky number 13. So getting ready to get into it.
And I mean, lucky enough to have Gerson join us again. We've been on a few episodes. So Gerson, we're always glad to have you on. So welcome.
Oh, man, I'm always happy to be on here. I just want to say it's pretty cool to have a host that actually introduced himself. And the other thing is, Hamid, I hope you get better. I hope your case of bursitis gets better. I wish you the best. But no, I'm just kidding, man. Much love, Hamid. But yeah, dude, I'm excited. Football season, right? I can feel it, man. Like I'm getting goosebumps. Like the training camp, man. Oh, CD Lamb season, baby. What up?
CD Lamb, I mean, and it's funny. So are you still singing his praises right now? Because there is a bit of news coming out of Dallas, Piers. So we'll get right into it, just because we all love to ramble so much. So we know let's not waste any more time. It appears that Dak Prescott injured himself. Training camps are now open, which is great. Players are there on the field. We can see usage, but they're also susceptible to injury. So, Doc, what do you know about Dak? What kind of details can you share with us?
Yeah, so this was kind of breaking news this morning when I woke up that Dak Prescott left practice yesterday with pain in his throwing shoulder, ended up getting an MRI. This was Wednesday. He had the pain. He left practice, ended up getting an MRI, and he was diagnosed with a mild or grade 1 strain of his latissimus muscle, which is the big muscle that runs in the back over here on his throwing side. So that's what we know, and naturally, because it's early on and he's already coming back from his ankle injury and things like that, the football Twitter kind of exploded with that, and I've already heard people saying like they're downgrading him, they're downgrading the Cowboys players, and all these other things. I'm gonna cut right to the chase with this. This is about as mild as it gets. Like, he practiced for 4 full days in training camp, and he had a little bit of pain on day 5, which is not surprising because he's fully practicing. And after 5 days, he had a little soreness in his shoulder. So they go and get an MRI, and it shows no visible tearing of the muscle. A grade 1 is just micro tears, which parenthetically is what happens after a strenuous workout, which makes sense because he was doing workouts and he was throwing and he was using those muscles. So they'll watch it. They'll take it easy with him. He'll probably get a rest for the next few days or a week, and they'll take it from there. It's not his ankle. It's probably nothing. So, my advice is, if you were in on the Cowboys before, you should still be in, and be on the lookout for people overreacting to this or having him or any of the Cowboys position players be downgraded. And if they are and people are letting them slip, then take the discount and keep buying. That's what I say.
Speaking of buying, the B-League says Dan, Doc, our co-host on Monday nights, he's wondering if Jeff's giving out free hats now. What is going on? Well, what's going on is, trust me, this isn't free. I bought this myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't get a free hat.
Yeah, there's definitely no free hat. This isn't South Park. We don't just have free hat. But you too can buy these hats and these great shirts. It's all through the Veridian Global Store, goingfor2.com/store. We'll get the ad right out of the way. Apparently, the hats for sale. So yes,
actually, B-League, there's a free hat giveaway. If you stay on Discord for a month, then you get a free hat. So there's that. So a little incentive for you.
Discord discussion, yeah. But in terms of incentive, apparently, okay, so more news from Dan here. The offseason started 7 months ago, and Dr. Jim looks like he finally got some stubble.
Touche, my friend. The rumor is that Dan can actually grow a beard during a commercial break. So it's like if you put the two of us together, then our facial hair situation, it about averages each other out. So So that's it. And for those of you who don't know Dan, he has a luxurious full beard.
I gave you 4 days.
Hey, I didn't have to read it out. Perfect. But yeah, so just a one last quick thing about these shirts specifically. I'm wearing my Zeppelin one today. So Scott Fishbowl shirts, and I know Viridian Global is giving most of the proceeds of those shirts to charity, mostly through Fantasy Cares. I know some of the money raised for Scott Fishbowl this year is also going to the Trevor Project. So Viridian Global is helping out there. Basically, they're covering production costs for themselves, and that's about it. Everything else is going to charity. So there's tons of great shirts. I was wearing the Pink Floyd shirt last week, got the Zeppelin one this week. I'll try and model them in the next few shows. So I think there's close to maybe a dozen different musical brands just of that alone, and the other going for 2 shirts. So Dan's here laughing. Also says, have a great show, lads. Enjoy. Thanks, Dan. We will enjoy. So Dak Prescott, Gerson, do you still consider Dak Prescott? Okay, so transparency. I had Dak in the top tier of quarterbacks for me. It was a tier of 6 in that top group. Is everyone kind of in agreement with that? A top 5, top 6 quarterback?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I am, yeah.
And so no effect here at all. We still consider him in this tier?
For me, yeah. Unless something changes. Like the way it is right now, I'm not really concerned about this. This is as mild as it gets, I think.
I think maybe the only consequences, and we'll see this more in Superflex leagues, right? Instead of making Dak that first round pick, I might be more inclined to take Herbert, even in redraft. But so maybe drop Dak from 5 to 6 for me. That's about as crazy as I'm going to get. But I guess maybe the crazy thing is having Herbert at 6.
I don't think so. I did honestly, like I said, this shouldn't alter your outcome. Like I wouldn't move anything. If you were, thinking if you were in on Dallas before, you should still be in. If you were kind of out because you're like risk tolerance wise, this is too much, then I understand that as well, because it is a major injury he's coming back from with his ankle, and other things can go wrong as we're seeing. But I wouldn't. If you didn't have Herbert above him before, I wouldn't put him above him. I wouldn't put Herbert above him now, based off of this, unless something changed otherwise. Yeah,
my Fantasy Pros Dynasty rankings still have Dak at 5. I think I am going to keep it there for now. Yeah, so the way you're talking, Doc, it sounds like other quarterbacks could have this tear, and they're just not looking at it. They're not getting it checked. Or this
I wouldn't even call it a tear. This is like a micro tear. It's the same thing. It's the same thing you would get if he did a bunch of shoulder presses.
A bunch of quarterbacks have this. They're just not getting it looked at.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Doc. This is what the equivalent of a normal person like us waking up out of bed with a stiff neck. Like when we wake up out of bed, sleeping uncomfortable, and then we're like a whole day we have a nagging soreness. That's what it is. It's not a tear. It's like a freaking little. It just takes like a day or two. And the other thing is these guys have been practicing 5 days in a row. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that they're doing hard knock, because a lot of teams are doing they're doing 1 day, 2 day, and then a break. 1 day, 2 days, and then a break. And the Cowboys don't seem to be doing that. I mean, it's got to be because of the hard knock stuff. They're trying to get all in for the hard knock. And the thing is, let's be honest, you just paid the guy how much? 100 and something. I don't know how much it was, but you just made him $100 million man. Or was it 200 million? How much was it? I can't even remember.
I don't know. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. So think about it. I don't think Jerry Jones really wants him to go out there. Oh yeah, go ahead and force it in minicamp when we don't really need you. I mean, they're gonna take it easy. I mean, as long as it wasn't his ankle, I'm fine with it. The value is not gonna drop. It's only if people think they're gonna be he's fragile and everything, I'm gonna go buy him. Like I said, I was really high on Dak Prescott. I have him top 3 dynasty and in redraft. If I have to, for value, I have him as my favorite top value, like the top 5 quarterback or top 3 quarterback. I have him as my favorite value quarterback. If I can get him in the 5th or 6th round, I'm gonna do it, because I think that's how much upside he provides. I think this is the season where he can put it all together with Zeke, with CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper. Yes, Amari Cooper's hurt. I'm a little worried about that, but not too much. But I don't care who the tight end is, because their depth and Michael Gallup is pretty good. As long as they all stay healthy, I think Dak is in for a big season.
By the way, it's 160 million. By the way, was the contract.
Oh shit!
Nice.
4 years, 160.
And he can't afford one of those really comfortable pillows, like the purple mattress pillows. What the hell, like? No,
I bet he's got one now.
I bet he has multiple. But yeah, okay. So yeah, talking about the Cowboys, Hard Knocks, all that drama of reality TV. Let's actually talk about even more drama. Michael Thomas, right? I mean, is there anyone who can, in the NFL that's causes more drama than him? I mean, maybe there's a few names, but we'll ignore the drama for now. The injury. So it seems like in June, Michael Thomas underwent surgery. So Doc, what do you know details-wise about that and consequences?
Yeah, so this is a holdover from the injury that he had last year, which I'm sure everybody remembers. He had a high ankle sprain and he injured multiple ligaments in the upper and lower parts of his leg in week 1 last year. He missed a bunch of time, had a couple of IR stints, and then he came back for the playoffs. And the goal was to treat it conservatively, which is the medical way of saying don't get surgery. So that's what they did. And he didn't really feel right in the June mini camps. So at that point, they said, well, we tried to treat it conservatively. It didn't really work. So they opted for surgery then. Now, it's not the greatest outcome, and I certainly understand the frustration around this. And I know Coach Payton had some words about, it should have been done at this time or whatever. But hindsight's not 2020. It's like this could have worked out fine and he could have been fine and it could have healed up. It just didn't for whatever reason. So in June, they had to go in and surgically repair it. And his estimated return to the field is around the 4-month range, which would be mid-October. Incidentally, the Saints have a week 6 bye this year. So I think best case, he's probably back after week 7. Or around week 7, and I'm actually projecting a little bit more than that. I'm projecting that he's going to miss about 8 games, and I'm working in a little wiggle room there, which would happen back in early November, which should allow for enough coverage for rehab and recovery, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. So how does that jive with what you guys are hearing, and we could talk about valuation too, because I've heard everything from I'm still taking him in the in the 4th round to he's off my board now. And, we can walk through like maybe what might be a better way to estimate what his value is this year.
Yeah, I've heard the 4-month time frame as well. Like it seems like 4 to 6 months. So like theoretically it could push to December, like if like under worst case scenarios, it seems like. So from what I'm hearing, the expectation is he is going to play games this year. But yeah, when does that happen? How effective is he really is the question.
So here's my opinion. I have nothing but respect for Doc. So I trust his opinion. What I've researched and what I've seen. So basically, what happened in February, he was supposed to get surgery. He got his personal doctors and stuff, and he basically, this is what people say, but basically they told him to hold off. But the thing was, when he came to camp and everything, the same like staff said, "What the hell, dude? Like, what's going on?" And then he basically said, "All right, I'm going to get surgery." So now here's the thing: the injury that he has, it is a 6 to 8 week time frame. But according to what soccer players that have dealt with this injury, which is the most popular sport that deals with this kind of injury, ankle injury, it takes them 6 to 8 weeks, and then it takes them 5 weeks to actually train. And then basically to gain that strength and everything back to like normal physical activity as an athlete, it takes them another 4 weeks. So we're talking a whole season basically. Me, myself, I'm out on Michael Thomas. I'm not drafting him. I'm going to put him really down low in my ranking. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I've learned in the last probably 4 to 3 years, we need to stop this whole injury thing like, oh, I'm going to get it in. He's a value because he's injured, I'm going to get him in the 7th round. AJ Green, oh my gosh, if I get him in the 8th round, to be so sweet. Or who was it? I think it was Le'Veon Bell, a running back. It was a running back during the season. Like, dude, like, just stop. We don't draft for well, we do draft for upside, but we got to make sure they're going to be on the field, Yeah,
well, that's why you got the doc. So I'm gonna walk you through the whole thing. But Kyle, how does it impact you? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, are you are you out too, or like, what are you thinking?
Well, and I think before we get to my thoughts, Hamid, apparently he's here with us on the show enough, giving us comments, so that's great. I think he makes a good point. So dynasty value drops considering he hasn't had a great relationship with the Saints going back to last year. He falls to third tier of wide receivers with the assumption that he is not going to be on the Saints after this year potentially. I guess depends on how you view tiers. Third tier might even be too high. Like I might even wonder if he was in the third tier now. I think how I'm going to consider him in terms of like how he could produce this year. I look back to last year. In a half-point PPR, he scored just over 9 fantasy points per game. I think it was 9.1. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think it's dealing with the injuries, coming back, inconsistent quarterback play.
Where did that rank him? Just for basis of comparison, what would 9 something PPR?
I think that was outside the top 20. I believe it's inside. It's in the top 30. I think it still let him as a top 24, but just on the end cusp of that. So
gotcha. So he's like a low wide receiver too.
And I know, Doc, in your book, we have right here. We'll
dude,
throw it off.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm like on page 20. I think I am because I started reading it every single time I get 15-minute break at work. I'm like, I'm gonna read it. But
nice. I just read dedication.
So
Thank you.
Not to spoil too much for Gerson coming later, but there's a chapter in there where you talk about that. Like, how do you you make calculations on how you discount a player. So you think of, okay, how much are they going to score? How much are they going to miss? And then can you get players later that fill in that production to kind of, and then, you're buying them at a certain production knowing, okay, it's not Thomas's full production you're buying Thomas plus the players you're replacing him with cheaply at the end of the draft that's going to play the first 8 weeks or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
So exactly. I know, like,
analytics right there, baby.
And I love that chapter. It's like, it's super eye-opening on a kind of a process on it. But I think so if I were to calculate Thomas, I would try and calculate him as what he produced last year, around that 9 points per game in half-point PPR. Obviously, it'll go up a little bit in full point. So again, I don't really see the top 10, top 20 upside. Like, I'm thinking like he'll be back and he'll probably be a low end wide receiver 2 at best. So I also think draft him under that knowledge where, like Gerson said, we do draft for upside. I'm just not sure that there's a ton of upside this year with this situation.
So let me walk you guys through the process, because I actually went through and did it. And as you guys mentioned, which I appreciate, in my book, Injuries Suck, but Your Fantasy Team Doesn't Have to. Available on Amazon, by the way. I walk you exactly through this process, which you can repeat on any injured player in any sport. All you need to know is your league settings and what your projections are for the player and kind of what would be a reasonable fill-in. But initially, I had Michael Thomas projected as a low-end wide receiver 1, kind of right on that high wide receiver 2, low wide receiver 1 cusp. Now, with this injury, and I'm kind of calculating that he's going to miss about 8 games, I went through the fantasy injury calculator, and my rank for him at this point is I have him as a low-end wide receiver 3, so right around wide receiver 32.
Yes.
So why is that useful to you? Because that's really the tipping point where the acquisition cost can determine whether or not you're actually getting a value. And of course, there's a chance that he could come back sooner. There's a chance that he could come back later. There's a chance that something else could happen. He could either re-injure this injury. He could get injured with something else. He could get struck by lightning. He could get deported. Like, lots of things could happen. But when you kind of bake all that in and you're like, what is a general idea of how I can value him? Because I'm all over the place. I have him as a low-end wide receiver 3. So I just did a best ball draft, and he was the wide receiver 33, and he was taken in the middle of the 7th round. And I think that's probably appropriate. I don't know if I would do that because there's still risk associated with it. But in sharp leagues, it might be harder to get that kind of value on him. But if he's still there in the 9th, 10th, 11th round, well, I think there's some real potential there because he could come back fresh and be kind of hitting that high wide receiver 2, low wide receiver 1 ceiling for your team when you need him the most, as you're fighting for your division and you're going into the fantasy playoffs. So that's kind of my process. That's all laid out for you in chapter 8. So if you don't have the book and you're interested in that kind of thing, then go get it, go check it out. Gerson, you can skip ahead to chapter 8 if you want, and I walk you through the whole process.
Spoiler alert! No, I'm just kidding. I so far, I'm going to tell you this. Not only can you use this stuff for like season long, but like even DFS. Like sometimes I think about like injuries, like is he gonna play? Is he not gonna play? And it also helps me with projection. So far, I'm excited, man. Like I'm gonna try to finish this book soon, but like I tell you, like at work, I try my best.
So I overestimated. I went back and looked, and this counts every player that like played any games last year. So someone like Beckham's in here, Kenny Golladay. So I guess it's the same situation as Thomas. They didn't play, but yeah, 9.1 half point PPR puts him at 47, wide receiver 47 in points per game last year. Yeah. So wide receiver, low end wide receiver 2 may even be pushing it really, but I think that would be like his absolute ceiling would be probably top 24 as like where I'm considering his ceiling on like a week to week basis for however many games he's playing.
The only thing I would add to that real quick is that you got to keep in mind that like he played partial games last year and he also was playing injured the entire year. So it's like, he recovered to a certain point, but he wasn't really himself. So, it's a little skewed as far as production.
It's probably not as low as 47. Like if we like took out the games where he missed most of it, like if we actually looked at it, it filtered it a bit better. It might be closer to 40, like maybe even the top 30. But tough to see him as even more than a wide receiver too.
My question is he really ever going to be himself, the Michael Thomas we know? Because he doesn't have Drew Brees.
I think he could be, like, for sure. Like this isn't like a Cam Akers type of thing where his career's in jeopardy.
Oh, so you're talking health wise. I was talking like fantasy wise.
Well, fantasy wise, same thing. Like I think he could be, but as you pointed out multiple times, situation is important. Yep. And his quarterback situation is still unsettled. The team situation is unsettled. So those are just variables. But he certainly is a very talented player.
Yeah, like Hamid's saying right now, he's the wide receiver 21 the week Taysom Hill. So when Taysom Hill played, he averaged 16 points per game, which isn't like horrible, but it's not going to win you like every week. But the thing is, I always say this about wide receivers and quarterback: chemistry is the most important, like the most important aspect of them. It's not the talent; it's just like the chemistry. Like Aaron Rodgers, there's a reason why he went out and cried about Randall Cobb. It's because apparently Randall Cobb has the biggest chemistry with him. Like apparently they have like a little love fest.
There's a trust there.
Yeah. I mean, no, it wasn't like, hey.
To be fair, whatever, like when they played, like whenever Rodgers was going for like scrambling and like the play needed to like go on for so long, it was more Cobb than Nelson. Generally, Nelson's the like first read. If you can usually make the play, catch it, you can usually go to the end zone at any point. But when things got out of control, it was usually Cobb, and that might be his still role now.
I get that, Kyle, and you're speaking from a Green Bay fan. I'm going to speak from a Raiders fan now. No, just kidding, Kyle. It's just kind of crazy that I'm pretty sure he did, but he probably didn't say the name, hey, go get me Julio Jones. I guarantee
I'm sure he might have when Julio was available. He might have, or he might not have been talking to the GMs at that point. I was quickly looking at the numbers today. Like, I don't expect Cobb to get more than maybe say 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. No. That's probably I think is a fair expectation for him.
So the last thing I want to leave on Michael Thomas is this: if you were to trade for Michael Thomas right now in Dynasty, what are you going to trade for? Because I think that's the biggest thing over people's head right now, because obviously if you have a Michael Thomas, you either traded for him, you bought low on him in the offseason, or you had him on your team and he sucked last year, and guess what? Now, he sucks again. Oh no, like the water boy. Oh no, we suck again, It's just like that. But that's the thing. Like in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, the first thing that came to my mind were 3 players. Number 1, if I can get Jerry Jeudy for Michael Thomas and maybe a second rounder, I might do it. But then I was thinking like, all right, let's go a little deeper. What about a Cooper Kupp in a second rounder with Matthew Stafford there? And the thing is, people don't understand is Cooper Kupp is 28 years old. They're the same age, And then the third wide receiver, and this is maybe pushing it though. This may be pushing it. Maybe Tyler Lockett and a second rounder,
I think they're all reasonable because you're getting the benefit of health. You're taking some of the questions off the table. You're getting younger in the case of Jerry Jeudy and Tyler Lockett. I think he's is he
He might be only 27, 28. He might only be a year younger than Cup and Thomas.
But you're taking some of the uncertainty out of the equation. You're getting a second-round pick. To give you guys a basis of comparison, I don't have Michael Thomas, but he was offered to me in one of my Dynasty leagues this week, and the trade offer was Michael Thomas for Mike Evans and my second-round pick next year. And if I could have somehow conjured up, like, energy from another dimension and sent it through the computer to destroy this person, I would have done it. But I literally rejected that trade within, I think I set the Guinness Book of World Records for instant rejection.
Yeah, I think Michael Thomas is below Mike Evans in Dynasty value. That's happened. And I think the absolute ceiling of Thomas's value, what he was after the 2019 season, where you could have got like 2, maybe 3 first-round picks for him, I don't think he's ever seen that again. So I think get the illusion of you're not buying that Michael Thomas ever again. Like that Michael Thomas was kind of a 1-year thing. Like, I mean, he was really productive leading up that year, but he was really 2019 really skyrocketed. It seemed like almost a perfect storm. He got a ton of targets. The quarterback play was still pretty competent. So
I sold high on him. I sold high on Michael Thomas after that season.
That was the play. I have 1 share of Thomas. It was from it's in a contract salary league, and the startup was last season. So like he's one of the biggest wide receiver contracts. We haven't done our rookie drafter auction for this year. I know part of me was thinking with my strategy for that league, you put a player on IR, you cut them, it's half saved this year. Obviously the IR is I still get his contract. I think it's a 4-year contract. So there's still 2 years after this that I would still get to control, or cut him now and save half each of those seasons. So instead of 32 million, it's 16 million. And I've kind of debated both because I think because the problem with the IR is it's permanent. You put a player on IR, you're not allowed to take them off. So it would be like either way, it's saying Thomas is not part of my team's plans this year. And so that's kind of, I'm preparing that team because it's a contract league. You can sometimes get rid of players to save money to go in the auction. I mean, I could cut him and then re-sign him at a much cheaper rate. So I'm actually, rather than put him on injured reserve, I'm almost thinking of that, like risking losing him, knowing I'm saving half with the chance of maybe getting him back. And instead of it being a $32 million cap hit, with the dead cap, it'll be 16 plus. I mean, if I can get him for 6-7, then it's total cap hits only 23 instead of 32, right? Like I'm saving myself 9 million. So, and if he costs too much money, I'll just lose him and kind of forget about it. So that's how I'm dealing with Thomas. Again, contract leagues are very specific. You can have different mechanisms. I know Hamid's saying he has Galladay and Michael Thomas at equal value. What do you guys think about that? If you have Michael Thomas and you're given Kenny Galladay, again, what Doc said, the benefit of the doubt of health. Are you taking that pivot off of Thomas right now and getting the player we think will be healthy most of the season?
I don't think it's unreasonable. I think my brief answer is I think some of this comes down to personal preference. Like, we kind of look at these things and it's like, oh, there's an absolute value. I mean, I think there's a range, and I think kind of all of the things that we were talking about are in that range. Like, this is in that range. Like, Mike Evans and my second-round pick for Michael Thomas was far outside of that range, and wherever that person is who offered me that trade, I don't know where he is right now, but wherever he is, I hope he's in a lot of physical pain.
Well, that seems like they're stuck on the Michael Thomas as wide receiver 1.
Pain.
Oh boy, the doc always healing people, except don't spite him, and then he won't be healing you. But like it seems like he's stuck on that evaluation, right?
For everybody out there. So there are two sides. I'm not all healing. Like you send me a bad trade,
balance,
then the other side of the twin comes out, I guess.
Balance, right? But so like it sounds like he's stuck on that. Like Michael Thomas is worth 2 firsts evaluation, right? Which is again not realistic. I say. Like I like all of the trades you proposed, Gerson. Like if you like selling Thomas to get Judy in a second, like I would do that probably pretty easily, to be honest. I'm like, and I guess Judy struggled last year, so maybe people have soured on him. I don't know if that trade's even attainable. Like the Cup in a second, Lockett in a second, I see those as being more likely, but Judy in a second, I wonder if that's a little too much to ask for. I think it's probably the best side. I got an
offer. I got a Michael Thomas offered, and I don't even own Michael Thomas. He gave it to me, and it was. And this is what I'm telling you guys: don't overvalue Michael Thomas past that, or like what he did in the past. Value what he can do for you in the future. And I said hell no right away to him. He told me, "I'll give you Michael Thomas for Laviska Shenault and your 104 rookie pick. I'm like, I wouldn't even give you my 104 rookie pick for Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I don't even have to ask super flex or non-super flex. Either format, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And that was the thing. And he goes, well, Michael Thomas is who's a wide receiver 1 2 years ago. I'm like, yeah, 2 years ago. Guess what? 2 years ago, I thought I was going to date one of the hottest girls when I hit on her at the bar. But guess what? She said no. That's shit, Shane, bro. Like, no, it's not going to happen, you know? That's the way I put it. And he goes,
thanks for sharing, Shane Falco.
Yeah. Well, it was that blonde girl, you know, she was a cheerleader and she told me she wouldn't date me. And I'm like, why? She's like, because you're a replacement for the Dynasty Gambit.
So she date Doc or Hamid, but not you.
Hey, I think they're married. I don't know. I know Hamid married. And by the way, Hamid, good job.
Yeah. I mean, we know he's listening, so definitely.
Yeah, he's listening, and he's interacting a lot. For somebody who is really sick and bedridden, he's certainly very active. I want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
you almost could have just come on and talked, right?
Yeah.
He's that guy at work that says, "I got the Rona. I got the case of Rona, boss." Okay, and then next day he comes in. Hey, I thought you had the case of Rona. You can't be to work for 2 weeks. No, I said I drank a case of Rona. I was hungover.
Nice.
I plead the fifth. All right, so we'll move over to our fifth topic, our third topic. I'm not even sure, but I know Gerson, you wanted to discuss this. So rumors of Deshaun Watson's trade are imminent. It seems like the Eagles seem to be the team most tied. So let's say that happens. Deshaun Watson traded to the Eagles. I don't know if we know the rumors of what the potential return would be if it's all just draft picks, but what are the effects for fantasy and dynasties in particular?
So I've been saying this for a while now. I think I said this the last podcast. I traded for my Deshaun Watson on, I think it was 2 podcasts ago. I don't know how many shows I've been on. I think it's my 3rd. But I traded Deshaun Watson for a 2023 first-round pick. And the biggest reason is because I just kept looking at cases like Big Ben. I kept looking at cases that I've seen in the past, and I'm like, how come the NFL hasn't really, punished these guys? Like, when I say punished, suspended them for a season, suspended them for 8 games, been really hard on sexual activity. And I don't want to go into it. So I just went all right, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, what is Deshaun's situation compared to other people's situation? He's young, number one. Number 2, his talent is probably top 6 at least. Well, actually, I guess Kyle would disagree because he had Herbert ahead of Dak Prescott. So,
but I also wouldn't necessarily say those are the most talented quarterbacks either. I think Russell Wilson's probably more talented than both, but I don't have him ranked in the top 6, right?
Sorry, I apologize. I have to rephrase that. Top 6, for dynasty, whole aspect.
The value, yeah.
So let's say, and then the other thing, the biggest thing was this: what does he have around him? And that's what I started thinking about. If he went to the Eagles, oh hell yeah! If he went to the Dolphins, okay, I like that. I don't mind that. Maybe he could do something there. If he went to, back then it was the Colts. That's what I was thinking. But then Carson Wentz, and then just other situations. But my biggest favorite right now is the Eagles. And if he goes to the Eagles, I think he can still be a top 6 quarterback with the offense that he can run and the weapons he has. I don't say that Devontae Smith is an elite wide receiver or anything like that, but he'll have weapons there. He'll have Miles Sanders. He'll have I don't think Rager is amazing or anything either. But it sounds like I'm talking shit on them, but that's competent compared to what he used to have without DeAndre Hopkins, and he still was pretty good, And I'm just saying, Deshaun Watson in that offense where I can't pronounce the coach's name, Sirianni. What's his name, Kyle?
Nick Sirianni.
Sirianni. Right? This guy is pretty freaking good coach, and I like the way he attacked. In the thing that I'm most worried about is he doesn't even sound confident in Jalen Hurts. Every report that I see is yeah, we like him, this and that, and this and that, and it's okay, is he your starting quarterback in week 1? And then we come back to the whole situation where, he has history. Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, no, not Carson Wentz. Joe Flacco, what was the other quarterback? I can't remember. But he had a history. And I'm like, wow, I was actually there with Jalen Hurts. I thought he might have a top 10 quarterback. But now, like, I see rumors, and that's how it all starts, rumors, right? Next thing we know, these teams they are interested. There's a reason why the rumors are brewing. And to me, is this. I'm going to sell Jalen Hurts right now because you're not going to get him at a higher value if that trade happened. And if you lose out on that value, guess what? You probably drafted him in the third, fourth round, or you either got him in a buy low trade, or you got him in the free agency. So if you trade him for, I don't know, let's say in a super flex league, let's go say you trade him for Derek Carr, because you don't feel that confident.
And at least ask for a pick back, I think. But I don't mind that, like Derek Carr in a second in Superflex.
That's what I was gonna say. Derek Carr in a second, and then I feel comfortable with that. I took a risk. But if I'm gonna go for Deshaun Watson, you should have been doing it a while back when his value was so low. And the other reason, I apologize, it's going too long, but the other reason is this: the NFL doesn't have enough evidence or collateral or video to anything right now because they haven't been given anything.
The harshest punishments tend to be video evidence or photo evidence.
True. I'm gonna comment on that later, but because I actually looked it up for my component. Kyle, I know you're pretty high on him too, and you took him in the Scott Fishbowl pretty early. And I know you have him ranked pretty high. So, like, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
And I took Jalen Hurts in the third round of the Scott Fishbowl, so it would make him as in the eighth round actually a value. I'd get the quarterback there, so it would at least cover the bases.
All right.
So and if he goes other than the Eagles, then I get 3 starters. Which
you have Herbert as well. Who's your first?
Herbert.
Herbert. Right. Okay, that's what I thought.
Hoping Herbert carries me. Like I still have in Dynasty, I still have Watson as a top 12 quarterback. I think I have him at QB 12 still, like even with the risk of him maybe missing the whole season. So, Doc, I think you have him outside the top 12.
Who, Watson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's completely off my board. And here's the thing,
more for Dynasty, less for redraft.
I'm done. I'm out. I'm washing my hands of the whole thing. And here's why. So, we talked about his talent, his age. Like he could get traded, all this other stuff. But here's the reality of his legal situation. He has 24 counts of sexual misconduct against him, but he also, and those are civil complaints, but he also has 10 pending criminal charges against him. And that is why the NFL doesn't have any video, because it's evidence and it's part of an ongoing criminal investigation. So, all this stuff about how talented he is, and I said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again, there's a non-zero chance he never plays in the NFL again, because instead of being the starting quarterback for the Eagles or Denver or Carolina, he ends up doing a remake of The Longest Yard, and he's the best quarterback in the Houston Penal Penitentiary League. So there's a non-zero chance that happens too, and I'm pretty sure those stats don't count in fantasy football. So,
check your league settings,
I just want to remind everybody that this is somebody that has 10 sexual, offense criminal charges still pending against him. So I don't know if anybody's trading for that while that's still ongoing, but there seems to be this idea that this legal situation is somehow going to unscrew itself, and it's just all going to magically go away. And I just want to interject that may not happen. He could go to jail. Forget about getting traded. He could go to jail. So that's
the NFL can't punish him. The NFL can't punish him this year.
Well, they don't have to punish him because society will be punishing him because he will be in jail. But either way, he's not going to be playing.
Well, I think that's the thing, right? I mean, the NFL could decide to let him play this year and deal with it all next year too, right? I mean, because from the sounds of it, it sounds like they're not going to get access to anything until the trials start, right? Like both sides are keeping it really close, and they're not really going to help out the NFL investigation. It seems like that's kind of been a thing reported is like the NFL really. The NFL themselves have nothing, so they can't really do anything about it. They can't
formally do anything, but they still have the counts that are against him, and they can still put him on the commissioner's exempt list. Just because they haven't done it yet doesn't mean they're not going to do it. The only reason he's even in training camp is because he doesn't want to get fined, and contractually they haven't put him on the exempt list yet. That probably is coming in short order.
I feel like a dick saying this. I feel like a dick saying this because I don't support what he did or anything. But the thing is,
allegedly did.
Yes, allegedly. And it's like, if you guys seen the movie A Law-Abiding Citizen, I love that movie and I learned a lot from it. It's not what you can prove. It's not what you can.
It's not what you know. It's what you can prove.
Yeah, it's not what you can show you what you can prove, and that's the situation about this situation. And the NFL now can't punish him because his trial court is not until February after this season. You can't put him on the exempt list until next season. And that's the thing. And that's the reason why I strongly believe that the Texans reopened this rumor saying we're going to allow three first. Of course, that's what you want for a franchise quarterback, because I can't. Well, who was the last franchise quarterback that got traded?
I was trying to think back to that too, even with in relation to Aaron Rodgers, and I'm honestly is it really all the way back to Joe Montana in the 90s before a quarterback of that caliber was traded?
Hey, Manning,
free agent though, right? He was a free agent signing.
What about Stafford? Does that count?
What did Stafford get?
They got 2 firsts and Goff for Stafford.
So now Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, should get more than what Stafford's worth, probably, I would think.
Yeah, in a perfect world where he doesn't have to.
But I mean, Stafford's a risk too, though.
There's not in a vacuum. He might not play again.
I think in the end, all this, and this is why the biggest reason why I wanted to talk about this is because we played fantasy football, and it's either you go all in or you build that balance, Of course, if you're a loser, you're just gonna.
I don't know what that sentence means, but okay. But I'm here for it. What do you talking about?
I'm going all in, man. With Deshaun Watson, I'm willing to give up.
You're either all in or you're all out. You're all in. I'm all out.
Okay, yeah. What are you willing to give up?
Well, I gave up 2023 first, so.
Yeah, 2023 first.
2022 first. Sorry.
2022 first. Okay, I'd almost like that. Give it. I'd almost prefer to give that up than a 2021 at this point. That was Superflex, right?
Yeah. No. Single quarterback league.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Then
it's tough. I know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I have Tom Brady.
I'm not sure I do. I'm not sure I do
Tom Brady, though. I have Tom Brady as my quarterback. That's why I did it.
Thinking that you've got the production this year. If Watson never plays, then you have your long-term answer quarterback.
Well, it's like what Doc said. If he goes to jail for 1 year, and he comes back from the longest yard, he won the championship down there, and he come back and win my Dynasty League next year in 2023. I'm good, man. I won my $1,000.
I don't know if that's how it's going down. If he gets 10, convicted of 10 charges of sexual assault or whatever it is. But regardless of that, I get it. We talked about it before. There's no absolutes. I'm not saying that anybody that traded for him or, whatever, they're banking on that this is going to go away. That's great. That's where you're at with it. Then I support that. That's, it makes total sense from a value perspective. But for me, I'm out. I'm out for the risk aversion. I'm out for the question marks. I'm out for the uncertainty, and I'm out for, I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to be invested in it any way, shape, or form. Let it play out on somebody else's roster, as far as I'm concerned.
Because to be fair, Letterkenny or not Letterkenny, but the risk price is still fairly high. Gerson saying he's having to pay a first to get Watson in a single quarterback league. So it's not like the discount's really there. And it seemed like when the news first came out it seems like all the Deshaun Watson trades that have happened this year probably happened in the months of March and April, right? Yeah. That's when the news first happened, people decided then, they picked a side. Anyone who was like you, Doc, and had him was then willing to sell him at whatever the highest price could have been, right? And then the people who bought him then were buying him, probably not thinking flip value, knowing it's so risky. People were buying him in April, knowing, okay, I'm going to buy him at what's perceived super low, hold him this year, maybe thinking, if he doesn't play, it's fine. I've got other options at quarterback. Maybe teams that are in rebuild, those would have been the teams to kind of okay, my team's not competitive a year away. I'm, going to obviously have my own first, willing to have Watson, right? Those seems like the teams that would have had him. So yeah, I feel like we can give Watson advice, but I feel like the the people who've already have Watson have already decided. I feel like by this point it's already far too late. If you're still waiting on the fence to decide what you're going to do, I feel like at this point it's too late, because when he comes back and is okay, I'm playing and he's out there producing, like his value is going to be so high. So yeah, the time to buy him is probably already too late. But I think Gerson, the most actionable thing we can take from this is the Jalen Hurts sell. And even if Watson isn't traded, like, they've got 3 first-round picks next year. They don't really have much invested in him. His second-round pick, halfway through his rookie deal already. If the Eagles don't win games and they're picking in the top 5, they could easily just replace him with a rookie quarterback. So I think Jalen Hurts is a massive sell right now anyway, even if you don't believe Watson's going there. So I think that's the thing to take from it. Hamid said something. If Hurts goes to the Texans, I'd rather have Fitz Magic in a super flex league.
I think if anybody goes to Texans, they'd rather have anybody else.
I'm not sure about that, but I'm also on the side of I'm not convinced Fitzmagic.
No, I was just being sarcastic. I still have Hurts over Fitzmagic for you. And
I would expect, Tyrod Taylor's there.
Yeah.
I'd expect Hurts gets the job so they can at least see what they have in him, presuming that they're going to take a quarterback next year anyway. It's the same situation. Like it's not a great situation. Like, I think we'd rather Hurts be on the Eagles, but I wouldn't drop him that much lower. Like, I wouldn't drop him below Fitzpatrick, but I also have Fitzpatrick pretty low. So we've talked about this for quite a bit. So talking trades, last week, one thing that was mentioned was Cam Akers. And I know I spoke what my plans were. I had 2 shares. One was a contract league. I've put him on IR and deal with it next year. Get to save half the money. So I've got kind of more money now this year to kind of deal with it and try and buy running back. So that's kind of how that it's gone. Like, I did shop around just to see the teams with multiple firsts, and no one was willing to give a first for him. So that league, everyone was holding pretty tight. Mm-hmm. Another league I'm in, it's a super flex 2 tight end with the premium on the tight end scoring as well. I think it's start 10 or 11, and there's 2 super flex spots, so you can start up at 3 quarterbacks. So the running backs are important still. You still have to start 2. I think there's a slight point per carry as well, but not as important in my mind as the quarterbacks and tight ends. So I shopped him for a 2023 first, and went to a few rejections, but did get a bite, and so was able to sell Akers for that first. I think I think it's attainable. Like, enough. Like, not everyone's going to give a first for Akers, but and maybe you're in a league where no one believes in him, but I'd wager to think that there's at least someone in every league that does still believe that Akers could rebound and is willing to give up a first in a super flex league. So I wouldn't sell for anything less than a first if I had Akers, even though I do have him low. I'm not buying him for firsts. I know that's my thing. So I'm not a believer in him, so I'm not really looking to buy him at that price. If he dips down to where you can get him for a second, I think that's there, but I also don't think I've seen any trades go down where he's moved for just 1 second either. So,
yeah. What about a second and a third? Would you buy him for that?
Probably. I don't really view the third as that much more.
Right.
I almost view it as just a single second. I think it's where I'm seeing is I was in Gerson. I don't know if this is the Dynasty and Chill chat or the Dynasty Trades HQ chat. I know you're in the Dynasty and Chill one. I think someone was talking today. They moved Akers for 3 seconds and a third. So, like, something like that is, like, if you can't get the first, maybe you get multiple shots in the second.
I always say this. The first are like LeBron James, Michael Jordan. The second are like role players. And the third, well, guess what? They're bench players.
Dart throws.
I want to hear what Doc's going to say about this, because this Cam Akers situation, I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but to me it's very straightforward. Like, I hope I'm on the same page he is, and I believe we are, because he mentioned it on our private VIP that Hamid is there every now and then he leaves. What do you think, Doc? What do you think about the Cam Akers situation?
Well, we talked about it at length last week, but I think where Kyle is at is kind of where I'm at. If I'm buying, I'm not buying for more than a second, and whatever you want, a second and a fourth, second and a third, like, I'm fine with that. If I'm selling, I'm not selling for any less than a first, and that's kind of the tipping point for me. So it really depends on what side of the equation you're on, and if you can't get that on either side, then either abandon trying to acquire him, or just hold him and kind of hope for the best. And I think things may change next year if he progresses and everything is well. It's not going to take much during the off season for the hype machine to get oiled up again. If they post some videos of him running and cutting and, doing some things in practice, and he's all jacked up and, all that good stuff. They write a couple of puff pieces about him. I think his value is going to go through the roof. So, this isn't your only window. And of course there's the chance that surgery doesn't go well and, whatever, but that's the risk with everybody. So if you're not getting that value, then I would just kind of stick pat and wait.
I know Hamid saying, just chiming in again, Doc sold me on not buying Akers. I think our big talk last week. Again, the quick takeaway is the history of recovery from Achilles is very short. Like, what would you say? Mikel Lashore is probably the best example, and that was 2011, 2012. Yeah. But you look at also the guys that are in that sample size of torn Achilles. I don't think any of them are as talented as Akers that have his same physical attributes to that level. So it might also be, is it the sample size we've had up to this date not appropriate one-to-one comparison with Akers either. Right. So I think there is still some hope. And again, maybe that hope is what people are buying for those firsts on. So again, I think that's
maybe. And Marlon Mack will be very telling this year too, because he's coming back from the same thing like now. So we'll actually get like a trial run of how this could go, and he may reset the bar. So, or it all may flame out. Like, we don't know, but we do get the opportunity to see him play this year and see what he can do. And, we'll just have to see what happens, but we do get a trial run. So that is something, something to watch.
Mm-hmm. So one last topic, we do always talk about a specific team roster. And Gerson, you brought this one for us this week. Something kind of you're talking as, okay, this specific roster and this specific draft that you just finished. But I think it also speaks to a larger point. So we do tend to talk a lot about 12-team leagues. But how does the strategy change when you increase the number of teams, so increase the number of players that are being drafted? So you participated in a 16-team single quarterback startup. So why don't you talk about what you did, particular with your first 2 draft picks? And
this is PPRG before you get into it?
Yeah. It's a 1 quarterback full PPR league.
Full PPR. Okay, cool.
So I just want to let you guys all know the joke that I'm going to say right now, it's rated NR, not rated, When someone tells you that depth don't matter, well, it's probably your girlfriend, but depth does matter, okay? That's what matters in Dynasty, and that's what wins league. That's what wins you in Dynasty. I'm just letting you guys know, I will trade back my first round pick as many times as I can. If I can go from the first 101 to the 104, 104 to 107, 106 to probably 108, and then that's where I'm going to stop. I'm going to look at it. But no, in my Dynasty league, I traded out. And I got draft asset after draft asset. And this is the league we're going to talk about right now. My first 2 rounds, I traded out. And while I traded out, I kept saying to myself, okay, and this is the thing that people don't do. I don't know. I have my personal ranking. Go get whatever rankings you have in Dynasty and then compare the draft pick that you're trading out of. Okay, would it be fair to do, let's say, Travis Etienne and Terry McLaurin for a Saquon Barkley and a Jerry Jeudy.
So rather than calling it trading your first for a 6th, first and 6th for a 3rd and 4th, try and put names on those picks.
Yes. So you got to do comparison on your own time. And this is why I hate those, like online draft. I hate those. I don't like those. If I'm building a Dynasty team for 3 years out, dude, like if I'm putting a lot of money into it, dude, let me take my time to digest this because this is going to be my team. This is my baby. Like, I don't have a wife that carries the baby. So this is my baby. This is my Dynasty team. Like, let me be. Like, I'm going to put a bottle in a OBJ because he's a little crybaby.
You're gonna nurture this thing. You're going to raise it and you're going to watch it grow.
And there's going to be a diaper joke.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to make comparisons in your ranking. Because that's the biggest.
What kind of time frame do they give you online? Just out of curiosity, is it like they offer you a trade and you got to decide in like 30 seconds or a minute as opposed to like 8 hours? Or
no. So
it's league to league, right? I mean, I'm sure that you could do a Dynasty startup where it is 30-second timers per pick, kind of like redraft. I mean, I think that's possible. You're probably not likely to see a lot of trades happen, but like
right.
in theory, it could happen. I think I know a lot of dynasty startups. I tend to be the slower variety, 8-hour timers, 12-hour timers.
Okay.
So like Kyle said, this is the league I started this year.
Okay.
And I've been playing with you guys for 10 years. 10 years, 16 team, 1 quarterback PPR. And trust me, we had more than 16 guys interested in this. We had up to about 24 guys. And I told them I got to cut off the list. But the thing is, I told these guys we're doing a slow draft. They were like, okay, 8 hour per pick. Of course, when I say 8 hours per pick, I don't mean you take up the whole clock. We all have jobs. We all have kids. Well, not all of us, but we have kid, family, wife, girlfriend, work. We got situations we got to take care of. I don't know if you might actually be like not alive, but yeah, that's the way I put it. I mean, it's a slow draft and that's it. Like that's it. But no. So I traded out the first 2 rounds because I think.
What did you get? Can you like? Did you do multiple first round trade downs, or was it like you just did 1 trade first round, 1 trade second round, and like what? Quickly walk us through like what you traded and what you ended up with. You gave up your first and your second, and you ended up with what?
I gotta pull up the trade.
Okay.
So what I did, I traded out in the first round. I think I got a first. I gotta pull it up. Sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. So while you're doing that, I'll just quickly riff. I guess the idea of with 16 teams, more starters, like you said, that those deep thoughts you gave earlier, depth is more important than consolidating and having 1 or 2 key starters. The leagues you want to do that in are, 12 team, start 8, start 9. That's where you're going to try and do as many 2-for-1 deals as possible, where you're giving multiple assets to get one elite asset at a time in trades. Those are leagues where you're going to push to do that more. When you start to get to like even if it's not the number of teams that change, just the number of starters, like a big difference I think between a 12 team start 8 and a 12 team start 12. Suddenly depth in that, even if it's only 12 team, not 16, depth is probably still more important, where those consolidation trades, you don't really want to be doing them that often. So I think number of starters, number of teams, both of those facets are going to determine, who are what is the pool of roster players? How big is that pool?
That's an extra 50 players that are out of the free agent pool. Just with that change of starting 4 more players, that's 50 extra players that are in everybody's starting lineup. That makes a big difference. I mean, that's almost 50% of the league difference from going from a start 8 to a start 12.
And generally, if you're doing that, you're probably not keeping the same number of bench spots either. So you're probably going to up it to even more than 50 players, go with the 2 extra bench spots or whatever it is. So I think that that idea is really important on how your philosophy is going to be. Are you looking to get 1 or 2 key players, or are you trying to get as many top 50, top 70 players as possible, even if it means you don't have anyone in the top 20, if they're all 20 through 70, but like they're all fit into the lineups. And it seems like was your philosophy here, was enough players to still have a starting lineup, but you don't have the elite 1 or 2 guy. But it seems like you also maybe filled out your starting lineup quicker than most teams.
Yes, I did. So the trade was, the first trade was, I received the 1006, number is 16 team league.
Okay.
1006, the 206, the 311, the 311 with Javonte Williams. Hold on, let me ask you.
And that was for your first round pick, which was what? The 10 what? Like what
the
pick?
108.
The 108, okay.
Which was Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
But then I got in return basically a 206 and a 311 and a 1006.
Okay. So you got a 2, a 3, and a 10 for your 1.
Yeah. So basically, I got that, but I traded that second rounder, which was. Hold on, let me see. Oh yeah. Sorry, guys. It's just I didn't expect we were gonna go this deep. We were just gonna.
Well, this to me is the interesting part, because I think as the teams, like as Kyle was talking about, you go deeper into the player pool. As the number of teams increase, like the strategy shifts. And if you're not, it sounds intuitive, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you're not thinking about it on those terms, you're like, oh, who would you rather have? Well, obviously I'd rather have Tyreek Hill, or I'd rather have, Dak Prescott, or, whatever, or Patrick Mahomes. But it's like, if you could have Patrick Mahomes and, versus having Travis Etienne, Miles Sanders and Troutman, then maybe that swings it for you, And I think you really made up some of that value because in each round you're waiting approximately, at least I think you were in the middle of the round, so it's around 16 picks. So if you have 2 picks in the same round, that's 16 players further down on the list in the ADP list that you can take right then and there. So you're missing tier breaks, and other people are, position scarcity comes into play too.
So the biggest thing was it wasn't the first trade that I made. It was the second trade that I made, which was this guy wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Okay.
Very bad. Like really bad. Like he was willing to trade basically his his third rounder. No. I lied. His third rounder, 4th rounder, and 5th rounder, and swap basically for a later pick. So basically he gave up so much draft capital just to trade up for him. But he actually had a pretty solid team because he kept trading in. But the thing is, he had a solid starting roster, but he had no depth.
Right. So that's kind of what the trade-off is of what you're talking about. So he traded his 3rd, his 4th, and his 5th for your 2nd to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he kept trading in. And so basically, like the thing about what I say about this, about trading back and trading back, make sure you get fair value. Because I can say I want this pick and this pick, but let's wiggle it out. But don't ever overreach for a player because by then you're eliminating depth on your roster.
Yeah, and it sounds like you got to look at ADP and you got to anticipate what's this pick going to turn into. I mean, we talked about it before where it's like, okay, like I'm going to give you a 1st-round rookie pick, but it's the 110. What's that realistically going to be? Or your 3rd-round pick by ADP, what do you have a reasonable chance at? Is there a tier break there? Is it something of value? Or, does it give you another opportunity to, say, pick up like CeeDee Lamb or something like that? Whereas if you don't have 2 picks there in that round, like he might go and then you have a tier break after that. So I get it. It's really interesting. And it's kind of compelling to think about it that way because, I'm always thinking in terms of 12-team leagues where it's like, okay, if you're in the middle of the round, you have to wait 12 picks. If you're at the end of the round, it's 24 picks. If you're in a 16-team league and you're at one of the ends, like you could be talking like high 20s, low 30s picks are going to happen before you get to pick again. That can really affect your depth, and tier breaks can happen all over the place. And you go from being plenty of starters left on the board to there's a run, and now you're drafting backup players.
So I think the biggest thing is like what does my roster look like at the end, right, Kyle? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you can read off my roster.
I'm happy to run it down because I have it organized here. So I have where you pick the guys too. So maybe I feel like I've adopted your roster too. Can we co-parent the roster? No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead, guys.
So quarterback, you have Trey Lance, Taysom Hill, and the aforementioned Deshaun Watson. Running back, Travis Etienne, Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, and Trey Sermon. And parenthetically, it's start 2 running backs, start 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes, single quarterback, single tight end. So Etienne, Sanders, Javonte Williams, Trey Sermon, who we know you love, Devontae Booker, and LaMichael Pirine of the Jets. Wide receiver, no surprise, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, also not a surprise to viewers of the show. Antonio Brown, Dwayne Eskridge out of Seattle, and Kawan Baker, who I guess plays for New Orleans. I don't know. I learned that. I was this many days old when I learned that, so that's good.
Same here.
Tight end, Irv Smith, Adam Troutman, Brevin Jordan, Harris from the Rams, and Parham from the Chargers. So you kind of have the 2 backup LA tight ends there. And that's 20 players. So that was kind of how it broke down. And it's a really young team. It's a really interesting team. And I see you got some older players late, which kind of balance things out a little bit. But to you, this feels like it's a contending team potentially if things break right and the rookies come along quicker than anticipated. But really, your kind of winning window probably is 2022 and beyond. Is that accurate? Would that be fair to say?
Oh no, that's fair to say. Like I told these guys, I don't draft to win now. I draft to win for the next 2 years, 3 years. You can beat me in my first year, but when I'm beating you in the next 2 or 3 years, okay, let's see what you got to talk shit about.
Yeah, and I mean next year, this like just looking at the running backs, right? Like we'll assume next year Javonte Williams is probably close to being a workhorse in Denver. Certainly Melvin Gordon probably won't be there. No Raheem Mostert next year probably. Who knows who else leaves the 49ers, right? Like it might be Sermon all alone with just Hasty. So like it does seem like the running backs will be more apt to be able to produce next year. The one thing I just want to kind of like run through the comparison. So in that initial trade, right, you traded your first for a second, third, and 10th, and you said that third ended up being Javonte Williams.
That's what it looks like. It was either Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams.
He was the 108, right? So 308 would be his natural pick.
No, wait, you said the third?
Yeah, you said you got what you sold your first for.
So I had 2 thirds. I had Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So 308 with Miles Sanders and number 311 with Javonte Williams.
Yeah, so Williams is the one you got in the trade for the first round pick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was the 206 that you did later trade away, right? Which was Clyde. Yeah. Like I'm just thinking about that, like putting those players to the picks, right? Give up Tyreek Hill to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Javonte Williams. Like I'll be honest, like selling running backs for just one asset like that, especially in this league, is not the type of process I want to do. So if and then you got the 10th round pick added, but like even if you didn't get the 10th, I would take that just for having those 2 running backs. Like, because I think Hill probably outproduces Edwards-Helaire, but is his value really that much higher? Like if Edwards-Helaire comes out and has a better season than last year, he's probably going to be valued as a top 12 running back. Probably going to go pretty close at startups to Hill, even if Hill outproduces him by 100 points. Right? It's about perception, right? So, like, you might not be that much different between the two in terms of value, and then you get basically a free Javonte Williams. So that first trade I absolutely love, and then to give up a second and get an extra third, fourth, and fifth, I think the same process. As much as I love Edwards-Helaire, the player that you got with the third alone might equal his production, and then you get again the free fourth and fifth. So especially in 16 teams, it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, you've got a few shots at having an RB1, whether it's Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne. I lost the team.
Javonte and Trey Sermon, all those things could break very right, and that could be a really good situation.
And the other, okay, sorry, Gerson, go ahead.
Hey Doc, I feel like Dr. Evil.
Okay.
Why do sharks have laser beams on their head?
No.
What's up?
Come to me, Trey
Sermon. You want a hug? What's up?
Sermon. Come here.
Is Trey Sermon your mini?
Listen, I honestly have no problem with it because you have a lot of depth behind it, so you're taking a shot, but it's not like you had your opportunity cost.
My opportunity falls. And the other thing they haven't mentioned about this roster, guys, is I don't have a 2022 first or a second.
Yeah, I saw that, but that's it's the price of doing business. But what happened to them? Did they get lumped in with some other trades where you ended up moving back into certain rounds, or what happened there?
Well, I traded. Yeah, that's what happened. Basically, I traded back in and everything. But the thing is about this team, the way I feel like it's like this. Okay, I don't feel like this team the bottom of the league. People might think it is, but the thing is, I think dynasty-wise, like last year, a lot of people thought, I said tank for Jonathan Taylor, and that team actually, I drafted, I think I had 6 first-round picks and a bunch of second-round picks, and then I built that team, and I had actual players, but I made almost the playoff. I almost made the playoff, but the thing is this. That team's going to take another tier next year. I had Cam Akers. Then I had J.K. Dobbins. Then I had Jonathan Taylor. Then I had C.H. Then I have Jalen Reagor, Laviska Shenault, T. Higgins, and Justin Herbert, free agent, So this team's going to take – that's the way I'm thinking the same way with this. I do a 3-year build, and that's it. When I start up, yes, you're either going to go all in to win that money first year, or, you can build it for the future. And that's the thing that sucks about, when you join a new league in Dynasty, you have to pick your poison. You're either going to go all in You're either gonna go a 3-year building window, or you're gonna be that guy in the middle where you might win the first year, you might win the third year. But if you're not in between those 3 years, you suck.
I would say this, though. The one thing that kind of gets discounted with the all or nothing approach, which I understand the merit to it, but there's injuries. Injuries happen. So, just kind of looking at this, like things could break very right or things could break very wrong. And that's why you kind of have to pivot. I mean, we talked about it how many times? Like
Cam Akers. Cam
Akers and Michael Thomas on your team 2-3 weeks ago, you're feeling pretty good. Now you're feeling less good, and think about all the people that made trades before the injury happened. And it's like, okay, that trade looked kind of fair when you did it. And now you're either a big winner or a big loser because guys got injured. And the big boss man, Jeff, had Cam Akers, and he was, we reviewed it a couple of weeks ago. And I felt like we kind of had to talk him off the ledge because he wanted to make a big trade because he felt his running back depth was, reaching critical mass where he only had 4 other guys that would be RB1s. And it was like, there's still 6 weeks to go before the season starts. Like, you could trade for one of these guys and he could get hit by a bus. He could get struck by lightning. And then where are you? Like, just let it marinate and see what happens. And if you need to make a move, make the move the day before the season starts. But you don't need to make a move, so just relax.
And I mean, even that, you don't have to make a move even until the season starts.
You don't.
You wait till late September.
The first game gets played. See if 4 of your guys get hurt. And then maybe you're thinking very differently.
But also see
4 other guys get hurt, and now your bench players are starting.
And I mean, less even than injury, maybe these guys just don't produce. Like maybe you pay for someone big and they're not producing the way you want them to. So instead, why not buy them in season when you see how they're producing too?
You get a view of what you're buying.
I just want to know from 2 experts like you guys, is my team okay? Am I going to survive? Do I got to go drink more beer? What am I going to do here?
I like it. I like that you've got the balance at wide receiver. You've got older veterans and the younger guys. And I mean, your entire running back core is super young. Like that's one where you wouldn't want to be all young at wide receiver, but you can make do with a entirely young running back core. I mean, pretty much your entire core is from the last 3 draft classes, it looks like. So, that's I guess Devontae Booker is the old guy on your team.
Yeah, and he may have some value early going. All right, Kyle. So you know how we do it here on the Gambit. So give this team a number. 1 as Manu would say a hell no, and 10 a hell yes. Like I want this team. So what number would you give it?
I think I'd say 7. I think there are areas that I like. I'm not crazy about your tight end situation. Although one thing we didn't really talk about, I wonder if Adam Troutman's one of the biggest beneficiaries of the Michael Thomas injury, just because tight ends are so tied to volume now. Troutman could theoretically lead this team in targets. I think the odds-on favorite at this point would be Kamara, but is it like it's not a non-zero chance it's not Troutman. So like I've moved up Troutman pretty aggressively in my dynasty ranks. Like I know you have Irv Smith as your starter, but I actually have Troutman ranked higher than Smith in both redraft and dynasty. So I think I've got him at tight end 9 or tight end 10, I think. So
I have him at 9. So
okay. Yeah. So I guess similar thinking there. If he could take a big step up, but if he doesn't, like, I don't know that Irv Smith is necessarily producing like,
I have Irv at 10.
Yeah, there you go. I've Irv a little lower, but so I think that I would prefer an upgraded tight end situation, but like we were talking about last week, right? Like you don't want to be stuck in the middle. Like you don't want to have paid up big for Dallas Goedert and not get the results. Like if you want to pay up for a tight end, you want to make sure you're getting those results, or just sell them in the middle, right? Like whereas like Gerson, you and I have Troutman ranked at tight end 9. 10.
Yeah, I have 9.
But I think I have at 10. I think I have Tyler Higbee at 9.
Oh my God, you better change that shit. Higbee trash.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm actually pretty high on Higbee this year.
Jacob Harris season.
Yeah, I don't know about that. If anything, it's probably Deshaun Jackson season. But so I guess the point, I guess the point I was trying to make was now it's rambled on too long. I don't remember the point I was trying to make, but
it was 7, lucky number 7.
Oh, that was 7. Oh yeah, the team rank, right? Like I think there's also risk at quarterback, right? Like I mean, Taysom Hill, Trey Lance, Deshaun Watson. You don't have a chance. You don't know if you're getting a starter this year, but presuming next season when you're ready to compete, you're not going to have that question with Trey Lance. So, I think
I'll be honest. I had and I don't DM people randomly, but I respect Kyle's opinion so damn much sometimes. And I asked him, should I get that John Watson? I asked Doc. I asked Hamid. Hamid doesn't show up because he only shows up when he wants to.
Yeah, I think I said go for, because you had Lance and it's so much risk already, I'd go for a safer starter. But then again, like, if are you rebuilding, then
what makes me mad is that Aaron Rodgers news, when I asked that question, broke like legit 30 minutes after that.
Yeah, just for the record, we both said Aaron Rodgers. So let that.
Okay, we did. Yeah.
Known.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember that. Thanks, Doc, for saving my back.
We both said Aaron Rodgers, which it's that was where we landed on it. No, it is what it is. It's your team, so I'm always a proponent of building the team the way that you want. If you ask me, to give it a numerical value, I actually give it a little bit higher value. I give it an 8. I like your quarterback position. I think Taysom Hill's going to start this year. I know it's not a hot take, but I mean, they're showing it to us. He's playing with the ones. He hasn't said anything about Jameis Winston. They gave him $140 million. It's like everybody's just assuming that it's all a smokescreen and he's going to do the old switcheroo. Like, I feel like they're showing us what they're going to do. So I feel like you're covered there. If not, then you may need to pivot. Love the young running backs. Wide receiver depth is going to be your key because I love Antonio Brown as a 4. After that, it's very dicey. But some of these tight ends could pop. You could make some moves where maybe you can get some depth.
Thank you, Doc.
So I really like it. It's got a lot of potential this year. I think it's a playoff contender. And if things break right, it could certainly contend for a championship. And if it goes sideways, all is not lost because you kind of plan to really kind of kickstart your winning window next year. So right now, I think you're playing with house money, but I love the build, so I give it an 8.
Yeah, this would it's the type of team that can sustain having Watson. Like, you wouldn't want to draft Deshaun Watson on teams that are heavy win now. Like, if you've got like Julio and Beckham, but no like young receivers like Bateman to eventually kind of replace them as wide receiver ones, right? Like if you kind of went all old, that's not the team you want Watson on. You want him on a team where you can survive this year without him because it's not detrimental to your, like you said, your win window. Just quickly, want to talk about another team in this league just to give the comparison of like a team that takes its own picks and doesn't, keeps the first round pick. Like what happens then? So this team, just the starting lineup is at quarterback Trevor Lawrence. 2 running backs are Austin Eckler, Darrell Henderson. Wide receivers Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson. Tight end Tyler Higbee. Obviously, Gerson doesn't like it that as much. I like it a little more. But then the 2 flex spots. And this, like, you're going to need these guys every week. Jalen Reagor, McCole Hardman, and then you look through the bench like Phillip Lindsay, Jacoby Myers, Demarcus Robinson. They got a couple of shots at Chiefs receivers. Larry Runtree at running back, Ramondre Stevenson, a couple of rookies. So I like you're reading through the first bit of that team, like the 3 starting receivers, Jefferson, McLaurin, Johnson, like, and Austin Eckler is an RB1, like that's great. And then you get to the flex the flex spots and having to play Jalen Reagor every week or having to play Jacoby Myers every week. That's where it shows that drying up towards the end of the starting lineup. It paid to, like Gerson, have your starting lineup filled by the end of the 7th round, as opposed to this individual who got, I guess, even just around later, 8-12 for his final flex spot, right? But if, like Gerson, like look at it, I guess your final starter actually was your quarterback. So outside of the quarterback, like or I guess the tight ends, that 805 for the tight ends. But outside of the tight ends, which again, you don't think you got much worse of a tight end, or you would say you got better tight ends, and they did it with Higbee in the, I guess they took him later. I'm rambling a lot, but all to say that it shows that, okay, maybe at the start the team looks good, but then those back end flex spots, which are, again, you have to start there every week. It seems like that team might struggle a little bit and would have,
just bye weeks. Bye weeks. Yeah. Forget about injuries. Like, even if this team stays perfectly healthy, like when bye weeks hit, you're kind of already kind of decimated. So
you're having three players in your starting lineup that are less than optimal, whereas
that are replacement level pretty much.
Might only have one, right? If Sermon doesn't lead up to expectations, I guess maybe if Melvin Gordon is still the workhorse and Javonte Williams doesn't get anything, he's there too. But for the most part, you should have like decent production most weeks from your starters, whereas some teams might struggle for those flex guys. They might need to give up rookie picks during the season just to make up for that. So I think
Booker may get some life early on. Antonio Brown is certainly playable. One of your tight ends could pop. Troutman could be flexible. So you have options too. So, you have the bigger depth, I think, is going to carry you.
So we just said bye week, right? So this team that we're looking at has like Trevor Lawrence week 7, Austin Eckler week 7, Deontay Johnson week 7, and we can keep going. Well, guess what?
To be fair, this almost seems purposeful. Like they're saying, I'm going to punt week 7, thinking I'll take the one loss week 7 if it means I can win. I have a good chance to win every other week because I don't have to worry about starters.
Take the best player.
I've never done that, but I get the logic of it. If you think
I've done it, it sucks that week, and you just gotta wear that L. But it's kind of fun, and every once in a while you win. Because, you get some replacement guys, you throw them in there, and it's like Shane Falco would appreciate this. It's like you get some replacements off the wire through bench. If you actually win that week, oh my God, what a great feeling that is. And you get to mock the other person unmerciful. It's like I had all 5 of these guys on a bye, and you still lost. Man, your team sucks.
I think the team's pretty good, though. Like, honestly, if I faced them, I'd be, pretty intimidated.
What would you give your own team, G, a numerical grade?
I need a miracle, though. I need those running back to break out.
What number would you give your own team?
If I were to rank my team, I'd say 6.
Wow, he's super critical. He gives his own team a 6.
No. The only reason I give my team a top 6 in the team dynasty team is because my running backs haven't broken out yet.
No, on a scale of 1 to 10, you would give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, I thought you meant the ranking, 16.
Oh man.
So you're saying you think?
No, hell no. I give it an 8.
Okay, so I'm the hardest critic.
There you go. Okay, I like that.
My bad.
Yeah, maybe if I'd give it maybe a 7.5 just to be a little nicer than just a flat 7. But yeah, no, I definitely think you could compete, and again, if you don't, it's not detrimental to your win window.
Thank you, guys. Now I don't have to go to bed and drink more beer.
This was good. Well, this was good propaganda for team trade down in startups. So don't be afraid to take that stand, but also know that the reverse is possible. That there are people that may trade away their first. So I think the leagues where I would want to do that more are Superflex. I wouldn't want to get two first round picks in a single quarterback league because then I'm taking 2 risks at running back. Whereas if I'm trading for an extra first in a startup in Superflex, it's probably because I'm going quarterback in the first round, setting myself up with that long term. Those 2 elite starters at quarterback and figure out the rest. Yeah. So those would be the leagues where I'd be willing to do it. But I'm not one to want multiple shots in a single quarterback league. But that's again just me. Now I gotta say, Gerson, talk about replacements a lot. I don't think you're a replacement standard person. You're as legit in Dynasty as us, maybe even more so. So always great to have you on. Really hearing your insight. 100%. And thanks for sharing your team with us.
I want to reiterate that.
I didn't want to share my team with anybody but you guys because I was man, the only people that would actually bash me, Doc. Well, Hamid won't show up to bash me.
I wouldn't bash you.
Yeah, I give
it doesn't mean I'm right. It's it is what it is.
No, but that's the thing, Doc. You're real. You're real, and that's it. We're Raiders fans. We're real with each other. That's it. We're real with each other. It don't matter on what level, but you're real. And you and
I'm a Packers fan making cheesy jokes. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, that's pretty much true. And Kyle, he has the knowledge to give me that. Truthful. Sometimes when Kyle tells me something, I'm like, I fucked up. Okay. But that's the way, this team, this is I played with these guys for 10 years, and we just, we went rogue on this guy. And this team, this league, I'm so excited for it. But that's the way I tell you guys.
You got to keep us posted on how it goes. And I really like it. We could talk about this team all night, but we don't have all night. So let's wrap it up. Let's close off the love fest. The feeling is more than mutual, my friend. Kyle, get us out of here.
Right. So if you want to share the love with us, you can follow us all. Doc's at TFS Doc, which stands for the Fantasy Sports Doc. So that's my way of remembering it. So that's hopefully helps you remember. Gerson's at Fantasy GDFS. Not sure if G stands for God or Gerson, but either way, Gerson's a GFS God, so it's appropriate either way. And then I'm at Senra Says. Be sure to follow everything at going for two at going for underscore two. There we go. At going for underscore two for all the written content from going for two. And then specifically for the shows, the podcasts, when they're streaming live, follow us on Twitter at going for two live. I know in terms of live content next, I'll be doing press coverage next Monday. I'll have Andrew Hall from Fantasy Pros and the Dynasty Junkies. I know it's not our show, but I'm pretty sure like Andrew and the Dynasty Junkies are going live within like a half hour of now. I think they've got the Dynasty Trades HQ guys going on, so I'm looking forward to watching that myself. Yeah. So, plugging a future guest for myself, and I mean we'll be back here on the Dynasty Gambit next week. Gerson, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll be on. So I told Kyle about this and everything. We have a 32 team Twitter invitation. On Twitter, like we do a 32 team league. We just started up Dynasty League and everything. So I will actually be on at 9:30 in the morning Mountain Time on Sunday.
Wow.
We're gonna have five guests and myself being a host. Everybody say a prayer for me. I've never done that shit. I don't do it very well, but I think I'll be okay. At 9:30 in the morning, I think I'll wake up from my hangover. I'll be okay. But tune in on the Going for Two Network.
And that'll be August 1st.
Yes.
So awesome. 3 days from now. Okay, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So you said 9:30 Mountain, 11:30 Eastern.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
Well, make sure to keep us posted on that. My big thing that I want to plug, in addition to the book, which I mentioned, I'll leave a link in the comments. Injuries suck, but your fantasy team doesn't have to. This is the time to get it before your draft. When all these injuries start happening, how do I value these players? What do these things really mean? Tips, tricks, strategies. I appreciate you guys always showing the love when it comes to that. On August 11th, I'm going to be on the Going for Two Network on the Armchair Fantasy Show with Jeff and Ryan, and the flagship show, and I'm going to be on with Stefania Bell from ESPN. So really looking forward to that. We're going to talk about some injury stuff. We're going to do some mock drafts. We're going to talk about whatever else comes up. But that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you mark that on your calendars. That's Wednesday, August 11th on the Going for Two Network, Going for Two Live. Always a pleasure to spend time with you guys. And by all means, if there's any injury questions or things that come up, find me on Twitter, reach out to me, send me a message at TFSDoc, as Kyle said more eloquently than I did. And yeah, that's all I got.
All right, so on behalf of Gerson, on behalf of Dr. Ferretti, I'm Kyle Senra, and this was the Dynasty Gambit.